Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins, the action-packed origin tale of one of the most iconic characters in the G.I. Joe universe, came out in theaters during the pandemic in 2021, and I'm going to get right into it. Before I get into my review of this movie, there are going to be some spoilers, but there's a good reason for it. Do I recommend you go and see the movie? Not necessarily. But if you're interested in seeing the movie, stop watching my review now and go off and see this movie. So let me get into G.I. Joe to begin with. G.I. Joe was created in 1964, and in 1982 it was brought back as a reboot in the form of a comic book, which I currently have. G.I. Joe #1 from June of 1982. And this comic here tells the origin tale of the G.I. Joe unit, a covert tactical special forces unit going after a terrorist organization called Cobra. I also happen to have one of the original G.I. Joe figures from 1982, Duke. And I had Snake Eyes somewhere in my retro collection. I just can't find Snake Eyes. I also happen to have a G.I. Joe Fortress with a unique Canadian flag, because I'm Canadian. So that's kind of cool. Matter of fact, over the years, I've collected some really cool G.I. Joe items that have come out. As a matter of fact, this is an updated version, collectible figure of Snake Eyes, as he would appear now. Now, let's get into it. As a kid in the 80s, G.I. Joe was a big part of our lives, for my generation anyway. So I would say anybody who's currently in the age of anywhere from 30 to 50 probably remembers G.I. Joe quite well. So I always thought over the years, wouldn't it be cool if they made a G.I. Joe movie, especially as special effects came in to fruition and stuff. And they did. They came out in 2009 with G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, with Channing Tatum in it, and it wasn't very good. But the only saving grace of that movie was the arc of Snake Eyes, a very interesting character, and his nemesis, Storm Shadow. I quite enjoyed that. And then in 2013, they came out with a sequel, G.I. Joe Retaliation. And again, the only part of that movie I liked was the very small bits with Snake Eyes, and they had a brief origin tale of Snake Eyes. So let's get into the origin of Snake Eyes to begin with before I get into the movie review. Again, the character was created in 1982, and his character was a special forces soldier from Vietnam who was tragically disfigured in a helicopter crash, and his vocal cords were stripped essentially as well, where he had no voice and he would wear a mask, hence the complete black costume he wore and the black mask. In the comic series, it was more tragic. His family, he had a young family, were killed in a car crash, and he was very disillusioned and went and joined his friend Tommy, aka Storm Shadow, with his clan, the Arashikage clan, essentially, and they trained together. And throughout the comics, it became known as Sword Brothers. But something happened where Storm Shadow went evil, Snake Eyes went good, and Storm Shadow joined the Cobra terrorist organization, and they would have to fight each other. So there's always that kind of cool conflict there. So that's a brief history from the 80s. And of course, as you can imagine, in 2021, we're not going to have him as a Vietnam veteran. We'll update stuff. But what I like about a lot of these rebooted iconic characters is they can do it right. For example, Christian Bale in the Dark Knight trilogy, Christopher Nolan, that was bang up awesome. It was a reboot of the Batman character, and I'll tell you, it's the best series I've seen in a long time. As well, in 2006, Daniel Craig became James Bond, did a great job as the new James Bond. Very realistic, down-to-earth Bond, and a character you actually cared about. So, taking a character like Snake Eyes could be very interesting, very, very promising, for sure. Let's look at another character, iconic character, Daredevil. Came out on Netflix, 3 seasons, awesome live-action series. Going to be coming to Disney at some point in the future, hopefully with a season 4. The cool thing about Daredevil is he has no sight. He can't see anything. But he's got, because of an accident, he's got better senses than you and I. And that's what makes that character iconic, original, and you can't really compare him to anybody else. There's great fight scenes, etc. So with the character of Snake Eyes, what we do know is he is somewhat disfigured. His vocal cords have been stripped. He can't talk. So that alone is pretty interesting. And also in the comic books, he had a pet wolf named Timber, and he went into seclusion in the high Sierra Mountains. So that alone could have been a really cool setting. But what I respect about reboots and refreshes of these movie iconic characters is they can often do their own version and make it very well done, like Christopher Nolan did with Batman or what they did with Daniel Craig and James Bond. So they had plenty to work with here to make this movie a success. They really, really did, and I was actually quite excited. So let me get into who they recruited for this movie. First off, actor Henry Golding. Very good actor. He's been in some really good pictures, Crazy Rich Asians, as well as Last Christmas. And he's a pretty good actor, and he looks like he could be a really good action star as well. He's physically fit. He looks like he could really enter into the world of action. Also, we have Andrew Koji, awesome actor from the HBO series Warrior. Great martial arts series. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you check it out. He will portray Tommy Storm Shadow in this movie. Some other honorable mentions here is Iko Uwais. He is known for The Raid and a few other martial arts movies, and he is spectacular with martial arts. We also have veteran actor Peter Munsa. He plays Blind Master, which would originally train the character of Snake Eyes from that clan. So again, we got some really interesting actors here, so lined up. So I was quite thrilled when I saw this. Also, I saw a sneak peek where Henry Golding was being trained in stick fighting and martial arts, and it was fast-paced, and I thought, boy, he's really getting himself into this role. This will be good. But then came along the director that was announced, Robert Scdhwentke. He's known for movies like Red and R.I.P.D. So he doesn't really have the greatest of resumes. But again, you know, every director needs to have their first hit, etc. Then we get into the writer, Evan Spiliotopoulos. Now, he's known for writing the screenplay for the live-action Beauty and the Beast, the 2019 disaster Charlie's Angels, and 2014's Hercules starring The Rock. Not a very good resume at all. But, you know, whatever. Again, he could have his first hit as well. Instead of being filmed all over the world in Japan, they decide they're going to film Snake Eyes in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, where I'm from anyways. But okay, they're trying to save some taxes filming up here. That'll be great. So going into it, I'm a little concerned there. I see the trailer for the movie. The trailer looks okay. It doesn't blow me away. I don't know why it doesn't. It doesn't blow me away. Then the movie comes out in theaters during the pandemic, and Rotten Tomatoes releases the first few reviews, and they are downright horrible. Basically saying this is a horrible movie. But then again, I'm thinking, well, maybe these critics don't appreciate the G.I. Joe universe I grew up with in the 1980s. They could be wrong, right? But then I read the fan reactions, and their thumbs are way down as well, and I'm going, what is going on here? How can this be? This is Snake Eyes. How could you make a bad movie about a really cool character? It just didn't make sense to me. So I decided not to see the movie in the theaters. It came out for purchase digitally on Google Play for $24.99. I think it was $29.99 at first, then went down to $24. I still didn't have an interest in paying it based on the reviews. But then I decided to splurge when it went down to $12.99 on sale there last week on Google Play, and I purchased it. Now, I will say, I have seen many movies that have bad reviews by some of the fans and the critics, which I have enjoyed. I will give you a recent example, was Bloodshot with Vin Diesel. I've also read the comic book line on that. The critics panned that movie. I saw it, and I actually really enjoyed it. I've seen it a few times. It's what I consider a treadmill movie, where I can get on a treadmill and lose myself an hour into it while I'm running on the treadmill. So I decided, I'm going to take that same approach watching this movie. I'm going to go in with low expectations, but an open mind. Okay. So I decide I'm going to watch the first hour of this movie on the treadmill. And it's a good test if it's a good action movie, because if it's really good, I'll lose myself in that hour. I won't even know I'm running for an hour. But if it's not very good, I'll be looking at the time every 5 minutes. The first hour of this movie, I looked at the time every 5 minutes. The second hour, I did not run on the treadmill. I sat and watched it. Let me get into this. My disappointments. Where do I start? This is an interesting character. He doesn't speak. He has a really cool wolf named Timber. He should be in the High Sierra Mountains, and you could really build an origin tale with Snake Eyes in this movie. I should also mention the whole premise of bringing Snake Eyes is they want to reboot the G.I. Joe franchise. So as such, they decide they're going to launch a couple iconic G.I. Joe characters into this movie for more supporting minor roles. For example, they bring in the Baroness, portrayed by actress Ursula Corbella, and Scarlet, portrayed by actress Samara Weaving. They're in the movie very briefly, and they don't really serve a purpose. I'll get into that in a minute. This movie starts out with a different version, a different origin of Snake Eyes that we haven't seen before, which I'm fine with if it works. But we start out with a young child, again, getting some spoiler stuff here. A young child witnesses his father being murdered. Then it shows up 20 years later in cage fights around the world as a UFC type fighter, and he's recruited by the Asian underworld to work for them to go undercover and infiltrate a clan. As such, we meet Tommy for the first time, slash Storm Shadow, and the character of Snake Eyes rescues and saves Tommy. As a result, Tommy feels he's got a blood obligation, an obligation to bring him into his clan for saving his life. Now, we're introduced to all the characters of the clan, and that could have been interesting as well. The problem I have with this right off the get-go is Henry Golding's already in his 30s at this point. And in a matter of weeks, he goes from being an okay UFC fighter to an extreme, highly trained ninja assassin in a matter of weeks. That doesn't work for me unless he was given some sort of superpower. It worked for the character of Batman in Batman Begins because we knew that Bruce Wayne went away for 7 years to Asia to train with the ninjas to become Batman. I bought that. That made sense. This doesn't make any sense at all. He goes from being a guy that could fight in a cage to being able to literally ride on a high-speed street bike on his feet, jump up in the air, do twirls, fight ninjas, and jump back on the bike again. Makes no logical sense to me. It becomes cartoonish, almost like Fast and the Furious. Here's the main problem with this movie. I'll tell you what the main problem is. I've never seen a movie do this before with an iconic hero. They make Snake Eyes the villain for the entire movie. You actually hate this guy. He's a two-faced, backstabbing guy who's brought into Tommy, aka Storm Shadow's clan, and the whole time he's manipulating Tommy the entire time. Tommy, if anything, is supposed to be the villain. He actually is a good guy in this movie. It's reversed. It makes no sense. There's a main artifact that needs to be taken that's going to go to Cobra at some point, the bad guys in the movie, and he basically betrays Tommy right to the end. And as a result of such, a good number of Tommy's family and fellow clan members that took Snake Eyes in and made him welcome are systematically slaughtered in this movie, like murdered. And it's all because of Snake Eyes. There's the fight scenes. I mean, they're just over the top. I mean, they're okay. But again, you got some real martial arts actors here. You've wasted them. The action reminds me of Fast and the Furious, where you just don't feel the peril. There's no real threat. It's over the top, cartoonish. But Fast and the Furious makes no apologies for that. That's the way they are, and you expect that going in. With this movie, you expect some sort of action, some sort of feeling for the character. I gotta say, I've never hated a hero before in a movie as much as I've hated this character. Don't get me wrong, Henry Golding's a good actor, but the character he portrays is such a jerk and a two-faced whatever that you don't care for him. And you think of how many people are dead because of his actions, his intentional actions, not accidents. By stealing this artifact, it systematically wipes out the clan. And then in the last 10 minutes of the movie, he decides, I'm going to be a good guy. It makes no logical sense whatsoever. It just made no sense. I gotta say, at the end of the movie, and again, I'm giving some spoilers here away, essentially, Tommy is pretty much cast out of his own clan for trusting Snake Eyes and bringing him in the clan. But as that's happening, you look over to the corner in the same clan, in the same room, and Snake Eyes is sitting there. He's welcome into the clan. And Snake Eyes finally says, after Tommy gets kicked out, It's my fault. And I said out loud, you think so? Absolutely, it's your fault. It's your fault all these people are dead. Why are you still alive? If I was that clown, I would have killed Snake Eyes by now. I've never seen a movie do this before. The other main problems here is Snake Eyes talks. He's chatty Cathy the entire time in the movie. He doesn't wear Snake Eyes mask until the last 10 seconds of the movie. This isn't Snake Eyes. I am confident right now that neither the writer nor the director ever opened a G.I. Joe comic book, ever went online to research the character of who Snake Eyes truly is and what he's about. Because he's about honor and being a good guy. And he doesn't talk. That's a mysterious, cool factor of this. Not in this movie. This movie should have been titled something else. This was not the Snake Eyes that I grew up on. Not even remotely close to Snake Eyes from the 2 G.I. Joe movies. It was a bad, bad movie. It also does something that no other movie has ever done in the history. This is a record. So every big movie now has post-credit scenes. A real cool 30-second or a minute-long scene that you're waiting for at the post-credits you're excited about. I've never seen this before. They show the entire post-credit scenes in all of the movie trailers months before the movie came out. So you've seen it over and over again. So when the post-credit scene rolls out, you're like, I already saw this in the commercial. This is no secret. It is so absurd and so stupid. I don't know who thought this was cool. At the very end, he puts on the Snake Eyes mask, and there's no real given formula for it. Let's get into the character Scarlet Baroness. They're just wasted in this movie. They're just forced in the movie for the inevitable sequel. They really have nothing to do in this movie. There's such a ridiculous ending where basically the Baroness is being backstabbed by the bad guys in the movie that all of a sudden Scarlet and Baroness decide to team up, to kind of get out of the situation. It's one of those scenes where the bad guys let them live and are telling their whole plan, which makes no sense because if they wanted to kill them, why aren't they already dead? It's one of those ridiculous scenes. This movie is so bad. The critics and the fans were dead on their money on this. I feel bad for anybody that wasted it going to see it in an IMAX or something like that. This was a tragic travesty to an iconic character and a big opportunity missed. How could you do this? He's such a cool character. I could come up with a better storyline right now. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what my storyline would have been. It would have been him with his dog Timber, maybe teaming up with somebody he's met along the way that talks, so you have somebody talking in the movie. And you're fed little flashbacks of Snake Eyes growing up so you know where he's going. And then the story leading to a big finale where he is going to fight some bad organization or something. That would have been 10 times better than this. Again, this felt like when you're in high school and you've left everything last minute, you got to write a screenplay and then like an hour before your class is due on a napkin. This is what this feels like. Again, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do I give Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins? I give it a 2. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's an insult, one of the worst insults to an iconic character I have ever seen. So let me know what you think of Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. Oh, I did miss one thing. The critics were panning it for the shaky cam, which is the shaky filming they use during fight scenes. There was a bit of that in there. Not as bad as I expected, but still, doesn't make it any better. Again, tell me what you thought of this movie. Leave some comments below. Like, subscribe my channel. All right, see you later.